Hey everyone, it's Charlene. You all know I am a big fan of the mixed media products from Picket Studios. So today I'm going to teach you all about them. I'm starting out by showing the different varieties in the paper glaze line. So here we have the original paper glaze. Now these are going to be in different shades of pink just so you can get a good idea of how they look. This is hibiscus pink, and here we have paper glitz. This is prom night pink, and you can see that's very different from the paper glaze. We're going to look at the paper glaze Luxe in pink magnolia, and then paper glaze Luxe in the Twinkle Lights version. This is the pink color. And then the paper glaze velvet, and this is in pink tinsel. Lastly, we'll look at paper glaze glass. This is in rose red. As we go along, I'll explain all of the different characteristics of these mediums. We're going to start out with the paper glaze in hibiscus pink. You can see this is shiny and it has a bit of a pearlescent finish. It's very smooth and creamy. I'll start here by putting some on my mixed media spatula and then swipe it along the paper. I'm using a heavier weight of paper. This is 110 pound Neenah Solar White. And I'm going to make sure to get a nice smooth layer onto the cardstock. When you're working with mixed media, you do want to make sure that you keep your container closed as much as possible. I do recommend scraping off any excess just to make sure it's down inside of the container, and then also wiping along the edge really well. This helps to ensure that your lid does not get stuck. It will not be difficult to remove in the future as long as you get that excess cleaned off along the edges. You also want to clean your tools right away so that it doesn't dry on there. Now, some of these products are self-leveling and some will hold texture. So our paper glaze that we did here holds texture. So you can see there's kind of an edge there that's sticking up a little bit. It's going to dry just like that. Now this next one is the paper glitz, and you can see this does need a nice stir when you first open it up. The color is prom night pink. Now the reason I pointed out that the paper glaze holds texture is because the paper glitz is self-leveling. It's going to give you a nice glittery pearlescent finish. There's multiple different kinds of glitter and mica in the jar. Depending on the color, there's anywhere between 5 and 19 different types of mica and glitter. So you will get a sparkly pearlescent finish and it'll vary by the color. So I have some here on my mixed media spatula, and I'm just going to go ahead and swipe it down onto the paper. You can see it already looks lovely with all of that glitter and mica. Next up, we have the paper glaze Luxe, which is similar to paper glaze, except this has an opaque glittery finish. So there's mica and glitter in this. I'm going to get a little bit here onto my spatula and go ahead and apply this down onto my paper. When you are applying these products, as long as it is still wet, you can go over it multiple times to smooth it out as much as you like. Next up, we have here the paper glaze Luxe in Twinkle Lights. Now this is kind of a sub-line of the paper glazed Luxe line. It has more of a clear base. So what's going to happen when this dries? It will essentially dry clear, but you're still going to get all of that lovely pink glittery sparkle from the actual glitter and mica that is in it. So how solid this looks will depend on how thick you apply it to your paper. Now this will hold texture just like the paper glaze Luxe and the paper glaze. Next up, we're going to use the paper glaze velvet in pink tinsel. You can see it has a very creamy, almost whipped cream type of texture. It's very, very pretty. So I'll add some on here. This also holds texture just like the paper glaze and the others hold texture. This will have a shimmery matte finish to it. I thought my piece of cardstock was going to be big enough, but it wasn't. So last but not least, we have one of the newest products in the Glaze line, and this is Paper Glaze Glass. This is going to have a slick finish that is bright and shiny. It appears reflective, almost like glass. It is quick drying and it is semi-opaque. Again, it'll just depend on how much you apply to your paper. Once I have all of these applied, I set them aside to dry. So now I can show you their finishes. Here we have the Paper Glaze. It has that beautiful pearlescence finish, very smooth. Again, it does keep that texture. And this is the Paper Glitz. It has all that glittery and pearlescent goodness from the mica and the glitter. And again, depending on what color you get, some might have more mica in it, some might have more glitter. So that will impact what you get as a result. It does self-level, so it's not going to retain any of the texture that it had when you applied to it. Here is the Paper Glaze Luxe, very pretty, that opaque glittery finish to it, and it holds its texture very nicely. And here we have the Paper Glaze Luxe Twinkle Lights. You can see over here I applied it very thin, but I applied it thicker towards the left here. So that essentially clear base, it might have a light tint to it, but you can see if you make it thicker when you apply it, you'll get more of a solid glitter finish versus than if you make it very thin, you're going to get more of this kind of nice sparkly finish. It is very sparkly, probably one of the sparkliest of the different products. So I'm a big fan of that. Now here we have the Paper Glaze Velvet. The finish on this is so fun. It's that shimmery matte finish. So you're not going to get that real bright sparkle or pearlescent, but it does have a very pretty shimmer to it, and it holds its texture very well. Last but not least, here's that Paper Glaze Glass. You can see that beautiful, shiny, bright surface. It appears reflective and it's just very smooth, very slick along the top of it. It's lovely. I will point out if you are working with a lighter color of the glass, it can appear kind of grainy, but I think that just adds to the result. It gives it more of an organic look, and especially if you're using this with florals, it looks very, very nice. As far as how much product is in each of these containers, the Paper Glaze, the Luxe Twinkle Lights, the Velvet, and Glass, they all come in 2-ounce jars. And then the Paper Glitz is in a different style of jar, and this has 1.9 ounces in it. Now that you've had an overview of all of the different varieties of mixed media products, I'm going to show you some fun things that you can do with them. Now the first is you can tint it with paper splatter or your reinkers. I have some turquoise blue paper splatter, and I'm bringing in some of the Snowdrop Paper Glaze Luxe. I love this color. It is so pretty and it's very easy to tint. You do want to use a concentrated color when you are tinting any of your texture paste, and you just want to make sure you get that color mixed in really well. Once you've got it mixed in, you can go ahead and apply it to your paper just like normal. And I'm going to show you how this works with all of the different varieties of products. So up next, I have some Paper Glitz in the color Sparkle. And I've put a little bit more of that paper splatter down there, and I'm mixing it up and then applying it to my paper. So you're going to see here all of the different, I would say, white versions of the different Paper Glaze products. This is Paper Glaze Luxe and Arctic Fox. Now this is my favorite paper glaze, hands down. I've mixed that up and I'm going to go ahead and apply it to the paper, and then I'll show you the Paper Glaze Velvet in Winter Snowfall. This is again that one that has the matte shimmery finish, so you can do some really fun techniques with this in different colors. Mix that up really well and apply it to the paper. And then lastly, I will bring in the Paper Glaze Twinkle lights, and that's going to be in clear. Because it does have that clear base, this one easily takes on any color that you want to add to it, and you're going to really see that once this dries. This is one of my favorite ways of coloring the twinkle lights. I think it just turns out beautifully. So I'm going to apply this here to our paper. All right, through the magic of video editing, these are all nice and dry now. So we have here on the left what was originally the Paper Glaze in Snowdrop White. And like I said, I tried to use white and clear with all of these. Next up, we have the Paper Glitz and Sparkle. Look how beautifully shimmery those two are. Here we have the Paper Glaze Luxe in Arctic Fox, the Paper Velvet in Winter Snowfall, and then the Twinkle Lights Clear. Oh, look, definitely very, very sparkly and shiny. I love it. Another thing you can do with your mixed media products is apply them through a stencil. This is probably the most well-known way to use mixed media products. I'm using all of the same pink colors that we used earlier. Now they're all applied, and I can carefully remove my stencil. You want to try and ensure it doesn't shift at all when you are peeling it up. A good stencil reveal is always my favorite. Now everything has dried, so you can see how it looks once it's dry. We have here the Glaze and the Glitz. Now keep in mind the Glitz is the only one that doesn't fully keep its shape, and that's because it's self-leveling. So when you take that stencil off, it's going to spread out a little bit. But everything else will retain those nice crisp edges, and you can see they all look very pretty, but they do have a very different look to each of them. So depending on the look that you're going for, if you want glittery or shiny, if you want a little bit of both, if you want more of a matte or a super highly reflective, that's going to impact which type of paper glaze product that you want to use for the card that you are making. Now off camera, I've put down all of those same whites again, and I've applied a few layers of ink using my paper Pouncers. I'm using just a water-based dye ink here because I wanted to show you how the different types of pastes are going to interact when you ink blend or pounce over them. Now, you can take a paper towel and you can wipe off the glaze, and you can also wipe off the glitz. Now that is because those two dry and they end up becoming a non-porous surface. You can retain just the tiniest bit of ink with the glitz, but most of it's going to come off. Now I've wiped off all the excess ink here. You can see it's coming up on my paper towel, and it's going to bring that shine and that white color back to these. So here the glaze and glitz are still very pearlescent. They look nice and bright and shiny, whereas our Luxe and our Twinkle Lights and Velvet have taken on that beautiful teal color that we applied. And so just different types of techniques that you can use your various pastes for. Just really depends on what you are going for. These two, the glaze and the glitz, are great for resist, whereas the others with the added ink get you a very fun result. Now, because the glaze, the Luxe, the Twinkle Lights, and the Velvet all retain their texture once they're dry, one of my favorite things to do with them, and this is the Paper Glaze Luxe and Arctic Fox, is to create three-dimensional things on a card. So if I'm needing to create a little snow pile to place a snowman or something like that, or maybe a sandy beach where I want to put an ocean scene, I just come along with my paste here and create a bunch of fun texture by dabbing it with my mixed media spatula. This has had a chance to completely dry, so now you can see all of the shimmer and sparkle and all of that texture that we've created. Now remember, the Glaze, Luxe, Twinkle Lights, Velvet, all hold texture, so they're great for creating mixed media scenes. Another thing you can do is with embossed images. So here I have the Floral Acanthus embossing folder from Altenew and a piece of black cardstock. This technique does tend to work better with colored cardstock or black cardstock. So I'm going to go ahead and run this through my die cutting machine. Here it is with that beautiful image. And I am going to use some paper glaze in the color Jade Vine. This is a very pretty teal color. I'll take a little bit out and put it directly onto my work surface. And I have this small little foam tip tool. This works really well for this technique. All I'm going to do is pick up a little bit of the paper glaze, work it into the foam here, and then I can come along the top of the embossed image and run the paper glaze over the top. I do like to have a little bit of water on my work surface. I keep it nearby because as the glaze dries, you want to continue adding just a little bit of water here and there to reconstitute it. And you could do this with your fingertip as well. You don't have to use this tool. I prefer not to get messy, so I don't like to use my finger. I think this tool works much better. And then once you're done, all you need to clean your tool with is some water. You're just going to mix it around and dab it off onto a paper towel to get that excess out. And then you're left with this beautiful shimmery image on your dark cardstock. Very elegant, very pretty. Okay, here you can see the Glaze, Glitz, Twinkle lights, and Velvet I have used in the different silver shades. I'm going to let these go ahead and dry because I want to show you the next fun thing that you can do with these. I am going to die cut using the Hello from the Hello to You word die set. So I'll take this and cut it with my die cutting machine. You do want to make sure that all of your pastes are completely dry before you run them through your machine. Otherwise, they could stick inside of your metal die and you don't want that. You also don't want to apply too thick of a layer. Thinner is generally better, especially when it comes to the twinkle lights. But you can see here all of the different sparkle, all the way from the pearlescent shine of the glaze to the sparkly glittery finish of the glitz and the twinkle lights, and then more of a matte finish when we get over here to the end from the velvet. You can use any of the pastes to do this, and you can die cut shapes, word dies. You also could die cut cover plates, and you could even make your own piece of cardstock if you're wanting to. Now, one of my favorite things that Picket Fence has started selling are samplers. These come in trios of 3 and each jar is 1 ounce. It's a great way to try out a particular product. Here we have the paper glaze sampler that's called Colors of Herbs, and you can see that beautiful orange, green, and yellow, very shiny. Now, each of the sampler sets kind of color coordinate, so they go really well together. Here is the Paper Glaze Luxe sampler in Nature's Colors. So you have this nice teal color here on the end, this pinky peach color in the middle, and then on the right you have this nice, beautiful, vibrant green. This is a really good example. The light is hitting this just right for the Paper Glaze Luxe. You can see all of that beautiful shine and sparkle. This is the Paper Glaze Luxe Twinkle Lights sampler. This is a fun sampler because you get the silver, clear, and gold in here. So this works really well for the holidays to add some accents to your cards. These work great for tinting like I did earlier with the paper splatter, and this is called Celebrations. This is the Paper Glaze Velvet Sampler Pack of Ocean Odyssey. You have this nice yellowy sand color, this very pretty kind of Caribbean looking blue. It's called Tropical Cocktail. I love that name. And then this beautiful orange color here. So this sampler set is perfect for any kind of beachy themed cards, and you can see that matte shimmery finish that you get from the velvet. This is the Paper Glaze Velvet Sampler Set. It's just called Sampler Set because I believe this was one of the first samplers that they came out with, so it doesn't have a specific name, but you get this yellow, white, and black, which are really nice basic colors to have on hand. And again, they have that beautiful matte finish, and the texture is just like velvet. Last but not least, we have the Paper Glaze Glass Sampler. This is called Corals. You can see, again, we have these ocean themed colors here. Look how slick and shiny these are. Really, the reflective nature of these is absolutely gorgeous. They look like water or glass. I'm a big fan of the new Glass series. Now, these are not all the sampler packs. There are several other sampler packs on the Picket Studios website. All right, guys, I hope I have given you lots of ideas and shown you and taught you lots of different things about the Paper Glaze mixed media line from Picket Studios. I'm finishing out here with some cards that I have made over the past year or so using these products so that you can see them in action. You can see what they look like. Please be sure to like and subscribe, as well as hit that notification bell so that you'll know about future videos here on the Picket Studios YouTube channel. I hope you all have a wonderful day.